Okay. So last time we discussed first law of thermodynamics, the formulae, and we did one numerical based on graph. Let's go ahead. Now, if you have a PV graph, it is pressure versus volume graph, then you have to see whether it is a cyclic process or not. So, for example, if you look at this graphs given on the screen, then there are two graphs, 1, 2, adjacent to each other. So, both are pressure versus volume graphs, and both are for cyclic processes. Cyclic. Right? So, cyclic means what? If you start from one point, you come back to that same old point. So, in the first graph, it is a cyclic process, but it is like a circle. It is not a rectangle, it is a circle. Whereas in the second graph, you can see a rectangle. Both are examples of closed cycles. Now, what is negative for clockwise cycles shown above? So, clockwise direction is a movement because if you look at the arrow is like this. So, this is a clockwise movement. So if you are moving in the clockwise direction, then the sign of work is negative. Here also in this case, also if you see, it is clockwise. That is like this, then this, and this. So arrows will tell you the direction of movement. So the arrows are telling you whether the movement is in the clockwise manner or in the anti-clockwise manner. So if it is a clockwise movement for a cyclic process in a P versus B graph, then you can say that the work is negative. So you have to remember this. Similarly, if it's an anti-clockwise movement, so these two graphs show anti-clockwise movement, and work is positive for anti-clockwise cycles as shown above.
It would work.
As shown above. As shown above. As shown above. So just remember this point.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, but work to zero जाना चाहिए ना?
नहीं, but work is a path function ना. Zero कौन सा होता है? जो state function होता है वो zero होता है. Because state functions depend on initial and final states only. But work doesn't depend on initial and final states only, right? Work depends on each and every path.
Okay.
Work is a path function. So for path functions, never say that the value is zero in a cyclic process. That is for state function. If I ask you what is the value of delta U, then you will say delta U is equal to zero because
Zero.
U is a state function. If I ask you what is the value of delta H, you will say it is equal to zero because again
Zero.
H is a state function and so on.
सर ये वर्क का नेगेटिव या पॉजिटिव होना कन्वेंशन है कि
नहीं 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 कन्वेंशन नहीं है. इफ यू टेक एन एग्जांपल यू अंडरस्टैंड. तो मैंने कोई ऐसे वैल्यूज लेके दिखाया नहीं है. अगर आप वैल्यूज लेके देखोगे तो हमेशा नेगेटिव ही आएगा क्लॉकवाइज में. ऐसा है. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर तुमको देखना है ना, वैल्यू देखना है अगर तुमको, मतलब ऐसा प्रॉपर वैल्यू के हिसाब से अगर देखना है, आई कैन शो यू राइट नाउ. जस्ट वेट, लेट मी स्क्रॉल डाउन एंड देन आई शो. Okay. Now see, if I want to prove this, okay, then I'll take one graph. I'm showing a process of this kind. Okay. Let's say this is 6 ATM, and let's say this is 4 ATM. Let's say this is 2 liters, and let's say this is equal to 6 liters, or let's say this is equal to 8 liters. Pressure versus volume graph. Let's see clockwise movement. Clockwise movement. So A, B, C, D. See, I can start from any point. Don't think that I have to start from A only. I can start from D also. But if I start from D, I have to come back to D. Similarly, if I start from C, I have to come back to C. If I start from A, I have to come back to A because it is a closed cycle. Okay, let's see now. If I'm starting from A, now A to B, can I say work done? Last time we discussed work done is minus P delta V for a constant pressure process. A to B is a constant pressure process because the line is parallel to the x-axis. So I can say that for A to B, the work done will be minus 4 into 101,325 Pascal because I'm converting atmosphere to Pascal, multiplied by volume. Volume is 8 liters minus 2 liters. I have to work in SI units, so I'm converting this to meter cube. So this is the value of work done for A to B. Now from B to C, if I go, B to C will be 0 because the volume does not change. If the volume does not change, the work done is 0. Plus C to D. Now C to D will be what? Minus C to D will be minus 6 into 101.
6 into 101, 325 into
Yeah.
2 minus 8.
2 minus 8 into 10 to the power of minus 3.
Awesome.
Plus 0.
0.
Right. D to A is again 0 because it's an isochronic process if you come from D to A. So if I take out common, it will be 101.325. Right. Then minus this into 4 into 6. This will be the first part, and the second part will be plus 6
into 6 into 101.325.
8. Correct. Right. So I have shown the movement. What is the movement here? Like this till this. That means this is the movement. The movement is what? The movement is anti-clockwise direction. Right? The movement is anti-clockwise direction. So let's see what we are getting here. If I solve this, what will I get? 101.325 will be common. 36 minus 24. So this is a positive value. This will be the value of work done for this entire cycle. Correct? So you can see that this is a positive value. So anti-clockwise is a positive value. That's what we did just now. A few minutes back.
समझ गई थी.
ऐसे कोई भी वैल्यू लेके कर सकते हैं. मैंने ऐसे दिखाने के लिए दिखाया बस. All right. Now let's come back to the other things. So work is positive for anti-clockwise cycles. Work is negative for clockwise cycles. Now, the phrase potential energy of a gas in thermodynamics refers to the energy associated with the intermolecular forces present. Now, we are not dealing with real gases. We are dealing with ideal gases in this chapter. Remember this. Nobody is going to tell you. It is by default understood that the gases are ideal gases. So, in an ideal gas, there is no intermolecular force of attraction or repulsion. And so, we say that the potential energy of an ideal gas is 0. So, the internal energy of the ideal gas is mainly because of its kinetic energy. Okay? Because the potential energy of an ideal gas is 0. Let's come to another concept, that is degrees of freedom for ideal gases. Now, degrees of freedom is a concept of physics. It is experimental, but we are going to just touch the concept. Okay, we need to just know it in brief. We need not be very thorough in this, but I mean, we did not get into the depth of this, but we just need to know the basics. I mean, what it means. For chemistry, whatever I have given here is more than sufficient for degrees of freedom. Maybe in physics, we will do a bit extra for degrees of freedom because in physics also you have thermodynamics. As of now, let's concentrate on degrees of freedom that we require for chemistry. Okay, fine. So, what is this concept? Degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom of ideal gases. Now, we know that the molecules have three types of kinetic energies. Molecules of any gas have three types of kinetic energies: translational, rotational, and vibrational. There are three types of kinetic energies. What is this? What is the meaning of each kinetic energy?
The
So,
translation is moving.
yeah, translational is just moving from one point to another point. That is the distance covered, right? The molecule is covering some distance. So, if it is at this point, it may have moved like this. So, now it has reached this point. This is called translational motion. Similarly, if it is here, it can go like this. So, from here till here, it has traveled. Again, this is an example of translational motion. Okay. Then what is rotational motion? Rotation is rotation about a particular axis. If I have x axis, let's say this is one axis, it could rotate around this axis. Or it could rotate around this axis. Okay, x axis, y axis. So this is x axis, this is y axis. Or it could rotate along this axis. This could be z axis. Right. So rotational kinetic energy is because of rotation around a particular axis. There are three possible axes. One is x, one is y, and one is z. So there are three orientation, or we can say there are three types of rotational motion because there are three different axes. Similarly, for translational also we can say that. For translational also we can say that there are three possible types of translational motion. One is along the x-axis, one is along the y-axis, and one is along the z-axis. Fine. Next is vibrational kinetic energy. Vibration is like this. ऐसे vibrate होता रहता है. Lekin vibrational kinetic energy के साथ we are not dealing in this chapter because we in chemistry do not discuss vibrational kinetic energy. Okay. And also vibrational kinetic energy is significant at high temperatures. Since we are not dealing with very high temperatures, we are not going to consider vibrational kinetic energy. So we are focusing only on translational and rotational kinetic energy. Now, what is this degrees of freedom? The number of independent modes associated with the motion of molecules is called the total number of degrees of freedom. So, what is this? This is a complicated definition. We have to look at the simplified version of this definition in order to understand the concept. So, the simplified definition is this: it can be represented by the number of independent terms in the expression for kinetic energy. What does that mean? Now, if I'm talking about a monoatomic gas, with the help of example, we'll understand. A monoatomic gas has only one atom in a molecule. It is only one atom is being considered when we are discussing the motion of the gas molecule, right? Because it's a monoatomic gas. Monoatomic means one molecule means one atom, just like helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. All the inert gases are monoatomic. So if I'm talking about a monoatomic gas, that means there's only one atom in its molecule. Also, the molecule is very small in size. It's an atom. On top of that, it's very small in size. Only one atom is there, that means it's monoatomic, and also it is very small, a point mass. It is like a point mass. An atom is extremely small in size. If I want to consider the motion, because for degrees of freedom, I need to know the modes associated with motion, right? I need to know the number of independent modes associated with the motion. So what are the What are the independent modes associated with the movement or motion of this atom? This atom can move along the x-axis like this, so this would be a translational mode of motion along the x-axis, or the atom could move along the y-axis. This could be a translational mode of motion, that is along the y-axis, or the atom could move along the z-axis, that is this could be another translational mode of motion for the atom, that is along the z-axis, which means that there are three possibilities for motion in the translational motion. So there are three possibilities. One is along the x-axis, one is along the y-axis, and another is along the z-axis. Because there are three different possibilities of motion for the translational portion only, if we just look at the translational motion, we can say that there are three possible orientations or directions of translational motion. So we say that the number of independent modes for translational motion is 3. So it's basically the number of axes available, right? Because it's a three-dimensional picture that we are looking at, we need to focus on all the three axes, x, y, and z. We cannot just focus on x and y. We need to look at z also because everything is three-dimensional. So
सर एक रोटेशनल एक्सिस भी होनी चाहिए ना?
हाँ तो वो बाद में, पहले मैं ट्रांसलेशन बोल रहा हूँ. So translational motion is possible along three axes, right? Along three axes. One is x, one is y, and one is z. So we can say that there are three degrees of freedom. For translational motion of this monoatomic gas. Now, coming to the rotational motion. Apart from translational motion, we have rotational motion also that we have to look at. Rotation is based on pure physics, which you already must have learned. Now, in rotational motion, we have this as the axis. We could have this way, or we could have this way, or we could have this way, depending on the orientation. If it is only one atom, then irrespective of the axis, it doesn't make very huge amount of difference. Why like that? Because you know a concept called moment of inertia, and the rotational kinetic energy is given by half I omega square. Half I omega square is the rotational kinetic energy of any particle which is undergoing rotation. This is a part of physics. I omega square, half I omega square is the formula for rotational kinetic energy. I is called the moment of inertia. Now, what happens is this I is distance dependent, and this I depends on the distance from the axis of rotation, right? That means if I have a very small atom, very small particle which is rotating, I can even ignore its rotation because it is extremely small in size. Let's say this is a point mass, and if it's rotating also, it will not be having a significant amount of moment of inertia, because the moment of inertia will be extremely small, extremely less in magnitude. So we can safely ignore the rotational motion of a monoatomic gas. Since we ignore the rotational motion of a monoatomic gas, we just say that there are 3 degrees of freedom for a monoatomic gas. Which are those 3? Those 3 correspond to the 3 modes of translational motion. So small f is the symbol for degrees of freedom. Small f is also called capital D, capital O, F, that is BOF is the full form. And small f is just a alternative notation. Now, capital C, small v, that is molar heat capacity at constant volume. CV is equal to half FR. Okay, CV is equal to half FR. This is experimental. You just need to know that CV is equal to half FR, where F is the number of degrees of freedom. Put F equal to 3 and you get CV equal to 3 by 2R. That is why we said that CV is equal to 3 by 2R for a monoatomic gas. So what have we considered here? In monoatomic gas, we have considered only the translational motion. We have ignored the rotational motion because it is negligible. What is negligible? The rotational kinetic energy is negligible. Why is it negligible? It's negligible because the value of moment of inertia I is negligible. Why is that negligible? Because the distance of the molecule or the atom from the axis of rotation is negligible. Why is not negligible? Because the atom is treated as a point mass. Next, diatomic gases and linear polyatomic gases. What happens here? I'll show you. Let's say this is an oxygen molecule. It's a diatomic molecule. This is the oxygen molecule. Now, this can again move like this. So it can have translational motion again along 3 axes. So I can say again the number of degrees of freedom along the translational motion is equal to 3 for a diatomic gas. Let's come to rotational motion. Now, see, here we cannot fully ignore the rotational motion. Why? Because here you have two different atoms connected to each other via bond. So I can say that if this is the axis of rotation, right? If this is the axis of rotation, then along this axis of rotation, I'll have to consider the moment of inertia and omega, and I'll have to calculate half I omega square. So this is one axis along which it's rotating, right? Also, I can say that one axis of rotation could be like this. Okay. Let's say this. So again, along that also it's rotating. That also has to be considered, right? This entire molecule is rotating like this. Now, there is another axis of rotation because there are 3 axes, right? Let's say I want to show this axis of rotation. The axis along which the oxygen atoms are lying. Let's say this is also another axis of rotation. These are the 2 oxygen atoms. Now, if this is the axis of rotation, this will be the value of distance, that is the value of r from the axis of rotation. This is extremely small because this is nothing but the radius of the atom of oxygen. Similarly here also. So I can say that even if it is rotating along this axis, the moment of inertia is negligible because the distance from the axis of rotation is negligible. So we can ignore the rotation or the kinetic energy which is produced as a result of rotation about this axis. Right? This is the way it's rotating. So again, this can be ignored. That means for this case, we have taken two modes of motion along 2 axes for rotation. That is 2. Why 2? Because one axis is this axis which is passing through the centers of the oxygen atoms. The rotation along this axis is ignored, and hence we don't consider this axis as the axis of rotation or any kinetic energy which is associated with the rotation along this axis. We will just focus on rotation about the other 2 axes because those 2 axes are not passing directly through the centers of the oxygen atoms. So the moment of inertia will be much larger than what you get in this case. So I can say that there are 3 translational degrees of freedom and there are 2 rotational degrees of freedom. In total, there are 5 degrees of freedom for a diatomic gas. So Cv will be F by 2R, that is 5 by 2R. 5 by 5, 3 translational degrees of freedom and 2 rotational degrees of freedom. 5 by 2R will be the value of Cv for a diatomic gas. Okay. So it all depends on the distance from the axis of rotation. If it is very small, then we can simply ignore that part. Non-linear triatomic and other polyatomic gases. Here you cannot ignore anything because now, even if you have this thing, even if you say that this is the axis and the 2 atoms are bonded like this, but you have a third atom also because this is a polyatomic gas that we are taking. Polyatomic and also non-linear triatomic. So non-linear means all 3 atoms will not lie in the same horizontal line. Which means that one atom could be like this, the other 2 could be like this, right? So if I consider the axis of rotation as this, I can probably say that yes, the moment of inertia due to these two is negligible. But what about this? This is very much present. So then this will have to be considered, right? So this distance will have to be taken in that case. That means I cannot ignore the rotational kinetic energy for any of the axes. For each and every axis, some rotational kinetic energy will definitely be involved because this is not linear in shape. So whatever axis you choose, some rotational kinetic energy will definitely be significant about that particular axis that you have chosen. So I can say that here the number of degrees of freedom is 6. How 6? 3 for translational motion and 3 for rotational motion. So 6 is the number of degrees of freedom. CV will be F by 2R, that is 6 by 2R, so 3R in this case. Right? CV is given by F by 2R. No. Some linear polyatomic gases are these, so you have to remember the examples of these 3 polyatomic gases which are linear. So for all these 3, the value of degrees of freedom will be 5, not 6. Okay, it is 5. Why 5? Because they are linear. For any linear species, you will say that the number of degrees of freedom is equal to 5. How 5? 3 for translational motion and 2 for rotational motion. Now let's do one question, because in the last lecture we did many formulae. So let's use those formulae and understand how we have to solve numericals in the exam. This is a G advanced type of question. Don't write anything, just look at the screen. Once I send you the PDF, then you can write everything. Don't write now. This is a graph given, and the graph is volume versus temperature. Capital V is volume, capital T is temperature. V versus T graph. Look at the given data. First thing is that TA is given as 300 Kelvin. Right? That means temperature at point A is 300 Kelvin. And these are the other things which are given. Okay. So I can write here 61 as TA is equal to 300 Kelvin. So these are the details which are mentioned in the question. What are the details mentioned? First is that the gas is monoatomic. Second, VB upon VA, VD upon VA. Third, A to B process is isobaric. Fourth, there are 2 moles of gas. Fifth, take R equal to 2 calories per mole Kelvin. And sixth, temperature at point A is 300 Kelvin. These are the details mentioned. What do we have to calculate? These are the 3 things that we have to calculate. Calculate temperature at point B, heat exchanged in each process, and total work done. Also, they have mentioned that the values of heat and work must be in calories. That means we have to use R as 2 calories per mole Kelvin, because all final answers of energy and work must be in calories as per the demand of the question. So, A to B is isobaric, that is given in the question. A to B is isobaric. Isobaric means pressure is constant. If pressure is constant, we can apply V1 by T1 is equal to V2 by T2. Look at the direction of the arrow so that you know which is your initial state and which is your final state. Unless you know the direction of the arrow, you cannot figure out. Okay. So A to B. So A to B is nothing but an isobaric process. And because it's an isobaric process, I can use V1 by T1, that is VA by TA is equal to VB by T2. So this will be my answer for the temperature at point T. This VA upon VB is given as 1 by 2, right? See, it is given. VB by VA is equal to 2. That means VA by VB will be 1 by 2. This is what? This is VB upon VA. Okay. Next part, calculate the heat exchange in each process. Calculate the heat exchange in each process. What is heat? Heat is nothing but Q. Q is the symbol for heat. What is the meaning of each process? Each process means every process has to be taken care of. A to B is a process, B to C is a process, C to D is a process, D to A is a process. So I can say that this cyclic path or this closed cycle is comprised of 4 processes. This closed cycle has 4 thermodynamic processes: A to B, B to C, C to D, and D to A. A to B is isobaric. If A to B is isobaric, then if you go through the notes and the formula given in the last lecture, you will realize this thing. That is, Q is equal to delta H. Q is equal to delta H for an isobaric process. What is delta H for an ideal gas? It is NCP delta T. This is also a formula given under the formulae related to an ideal gas. These all formulae are present under the category of formulae related to ideal gas. Small n is the number of moles, which is given as 2 moles in the question. Cp. Now see, Cp and Cv are not given, but they have mentioned that the gas is monoatomic. If the gas is monoatomic, that means Cv will be equal to 3 by 2R. You must remember the expressions for Cv. Once you know Cv, you can calculate Cp as Cv plus R, because you know that Cp minus Cv is equal to R. This is called Maier's formula. So if I know Cv, I can get the value of Cp by using this equation. Delta is final minus initial. Because the process is going from A to B, I will say Tv is final and Ta is initial. So Tv minus Ta is delta T. Tv has been found out 600 Kelvin. Ta is given in the question. Put the values and delta H will come out in calories, because R has been taken as 2 calories per mole Kelvin. So delta H is equal to 3000 calories in this. And delta H is nothing but Q in this case, because the pressure is constant. Whenever pressure is constant, we see that Q is same as delta H. The formula for delta H is what? NCP delta T. So we have finished A to B. This is A to B. Now B to C. B to C is a straight line parallel to the y-axis.
0 हो जाएगा.
What?
0 हो जाएगा.
नहीं.
Sir, temperature constant है तो delta T.
हाँ, delta T 0 है, correct. So delta U will be 0.
Yes.
Delta U will be 0. But delta U निकालने के लिए बोला ही नहीं है ना, तो क्यों निकालना है? Okay. देखो अभी. Now B to C is a process which is isothermal. Why is it isothermal? Because BC is parallel to y-axis. If BC is parallel to y-axis, I'll say that BC is an isothermal process, and I can say that TB is same as TC. So TB is equal to TC, because BC is parallel to y-axis. If a line is parallel to y-axis, that means the x coordinate is same on all the points in the line. So I can say that temperature is same at all points lying on the line BC. So BC is an isothermal process. For an isothermal process, we know that by first law of thermodynamics, delta U is equal to Q plus W. And delta U will be 0, because for isothermal process, delta U is 0. So I can say that Q is equal to minus W. Right? Delta U is 0 for isothermal process, because the internal energy depends only on temperature. Since the temperature is constant, so the internal energy is also constant for the ideal gas. And so delta U is 0, because if something is constant, its delta becomes 0. So delta U is 0. That means there is no change in internal energy for the ideal gas, because the process is isothermal. So Q is minus W. I have been asked to find out the value of Q. So I'll use the formula of Q is equal to minus W. W. I gave you different formula for work done. So put that value. W for an isothermal process is this minus 2.303 nRT log V final upon V initial. Because we are focusing on BC at the moment, so C is our final state and B is our initial state. So VC is the final volume and VB is the initial volume. So VC upon VB is V final upon V initial. TB is 600 Kelvin, we found out. N is 2 moles, R is 2 calories per mole Kelvin. Now, VC by VB is not given in the question. So I can do like this. I can look at the graph again. And I can say that because the line DC is parallel to the x-axis, that is the line CD is parallel to the x-axis. So I can say that the line, because it's parallel to the x-axis, the y coordinate will be same for point C and D. That means the volume at point C will be same as the volume at point D because CD is parallel to the x-axis. So VC is same as VD. So instead of saying VC by VB, I can also say VD upon VB because VD is nothing but same as VC. I need VD by VB now, but even that is not given in the question. But something else is given which can help me find out that. This is given, see, VD upon VA. Also VB upon VA is given. So I can say that VD upon VB can be written like this. I can say like this. VD by VB can be written in this way. That is VD by VA upon VB by VB. Why? These two will get cancelled and I'll be left with VD by VB. This is given to me. This is given to me. Put the values. So I get 4 by 2. Right? So this is what I've done. VD by VB has been shown in this way. I've put the values and I get this. Now log 2, log 3, log 7. You have to memorize these values. I gave you the values last time. So log 2 is 0.3. I put the value of log 2 as 0.3 and I get the value of QBC as this. So next is C to D. C to D is an isoporic process because the volume is constant.
Work done is 0.
So work done is 0 because if volume is constant, work done is 0. But I need to know the value of Q because they have asked me to find out Q for each and every process. So for an isoporic process, we know that Q is same as delta U. Q is same as delta U. How? Delta U is equal to Q plus W. Work done becomes 0. So delta U is same as Q. And delta U is nothing but NCV delta T. I put the values. Delta T will be again TD minus TC because the process is going from C to D. So TD will be the final temperature and TC will be the initial temperature. Put the values. I'll get QCD as minus 1800 Kelvins. So QCD is minus 1800 calories. Last step is DA. What is DA? DA is a line which is parallel to the y-axis. DA is parallel to the y-axis. Because it's parallel to the y-axis, I can say that it is an isothermal process because the temperature will be constant along DA. So temperature at point D will be same as temperature at point A, which is 300 Kelvin, because the line is parallel to the y-axis. Again, I can say because it's isothermal, therefore delta U is 0, and therefore Q is equal to minus W. So I'll put the values. On putting the values, I'll get this. Now log 1 by 4 is nothing but 4 to the power of minus 1. So log 4 to the power of minus 1. Property of log, if I use, then this minus 1 will come outside log. So I have written minus 1 here. This is minus 1. Now log 4. We know the value of log 2. Log 2 is 0.3. You must know the value of log 2 and log 3 and log 7. So what about log 4? I can find out log 4 now. Log 2 squared. 4 is 2 squared. And 2 squared, log 2 squared can be written as 2 log 2 as per properties of log. So 2 into 0.3, that is 0.6. So 0.6 is the value of log 4. On putting the values, I get QDA as minus 1658.2 calories. Last part of the question. Find out total work. Work is a path function. So for finding out total work, I need to individually first find out the work for each process. And once I find out the work for all the processes, I can add up the values of work for all the processes to get the total work done in the entire cyclic process. That's what I've written. A to B, B to C, C to D, D to A. Individually, each has to be found out. Why? Because work is a path function. So for A to B, I can use the first law of thermodynamics. Delta U is equal to Q plus W. A to B was isobaric. Because A to B is isobaric, straight away I can say that this quantity becomes equal to delta H. Why? Because pressure is constant. If pressure is constant, Q is called delta H. So delta H is nothing but NCP delta T. So I've put the value here. This is NCP delta T. This portion is NCP delta T. Delta H is NCP delta T. Gas is monoatomic. So Cp is 5 by 2 R. And delta U is what? Delta U is NCV delta T. So this is Cv. On putting the values, WAB will come out to be minus 1200 calories. Then BC. BC is isothermal process. So straight away I'll use the formula for work done for isothermal process. If you look at the graph, we see that BC is again isothermal. So for BC, we will use the formula for work done for an isothermal process. Then for CD, CD is isocodic, so work done will be 0. And D2A is again isothermal, so again we'll have to use the formula for work done in an isothermal process in that case.
सर बेसिकली क्वेश्चन बहुत लंबा था, टफ नहीं था।
हाँ, तो इतना लंबा क्वेश्चन नहीं आता है एग्जाम में, कोई एक पार्ट आएगा, बट तुम्हें तब वो उसी पार्ट के सॉल्व करना है जो पूछेंगे। So B to C के लिए I've got the value of work done as this. C to D work done will be 0. And for D to A again it's isothermal, so I'll use this formula. Take care of the signs. Don't miss out minus sign. You have to learn the formula first for work done. Now total work done, I'll add up all. So this will be the final value of work done. Net work done is minus 1200 calories. So now if I ask you, looking at this value, tell me whether this is work done by the system or work done on the system. Then what will you say?
By the system.
By
So
the
work is done
system.
by the system because minus sign means work has been done by the system. Okay. So we can say that for the whole cycle, that is A to A, B, C, D, A, you can say this because Q is also a path function. I told you, right? Heat and work, both are path functions. Q and W, both are path functions. Rest all are state functions. So Q and W are path functions. That means individually I have to find out the value of Q for each process, and then for total Q I have to add up all the Qs. That's what I have done. So total Q comes out to be 1200 calories. Looking at this value of Q, if I ask you, in the entire cyclic process, has the gas absorbed heat or the gas released heat? Then what will you say?
Absorbed heat.
What about the others? What will you
Released.
say? No.
Release.
The gas
Absorbed
has
heat.
absorbed heat.
Positive.
See, if you look at the sign conventions, if Q is positive, that means heat is absorbed. Okay. That means the gas has absorbed heat. Whenever Q is positive, that means the system has absorbed heat. So in this entire cyclic process, I can say that the gas has absorbed heat. How much net heat has it absorbed? 1200 calories have been absorbed by the gas. Delta U is 0 because it's a state function. So obviously A to A आप वापस आ गए तो delta U तो 0 आएगा. Also, if you use the first law of thermodynamics for the entire cycle, right? So delta U is equal to Q minus Q plus W, that is 0. So again, delta U comes out to be 0 in this way also. So for any state function, the change in the state function is 0 if the process is a closed cycle. Just like delta U is 0. Okay. Next question. Next question is this. The following lines drawn represent reversible adiabatic processes for gases, methane and carbon monoxide. Then which line corresponds to carbon monoxide? Look at the lines. These are the two lines A and B drawn. Look at the y-axis and look at the x-axis. Right. So if you look at the x-axis and if you look at the y-axis, you will understand that these are straight lines, and also they have a particular value of slope. They will have some value of slope. They will have intercept, all these things, because the lines are straight. Even if they don't mention to you in the question that the lines are, that the things are straight lines, that these are straight lines, you can derive. How will you derive? Look at the question. What all is given to you? It is given that the processes are reversible adiabatic processes, and yes, that much, reversible adiabatic processes for gases. So I told you last time that for a reversible adiabatic process,
PV power.
PV to the power of gamma is equal to constant. PV to the power of gamma is constant. Taking log on both sides, I can get this. I can rearrange the entire equation. And if I rearrange, I'll get this way. Log P is equal to minus gamma log V plus log Q. Now, log P can be taken as Y because log P has been plotted along the y-axis. Since log P has been plotted along the y-axis, I will say that is Y. And log V will be treated as X because log V is along the x-axis. So comparing this with Y equal to Mx plus C, I can say that this is Y, log P is Y, X is log V, and C will be log K, and M will be minus gamma. These are the values. I mean, minus gamma is nothing but the slope of this line. Okay. Now for methane, gamma is 1.33. Why? Methane is a polyatomic gas. There are 5 atoms, right, in one molecule of methane. 1 carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms. So 5 atoms are there in one molecule of methane. So I'll say that it's a polyatomic gas. For a polyatomic gas, gamma is 1.33. For carbon monoxide, gamma is 1.4 because carbon monoxide is a diatomic gas. How diatomic? Because in one molecule of carbon monoxide, you have 1 atom of carbon and 1 atom of oxygen. So, the slope is minus gamma, not gamma. Take care of that. Okay? The slope is minus gamma. If I compare this equation, if I compare this equation with y equal to mx plus c, then I'll say that the slope of this line is minus gamma because the coefficient of log v is minus gamma, not gamma, it's minus gamma. So I can say that now if you look at the two lines, one of these lines has slope of minus 1.33 and one of these lines has a slope of minus 1.4. Now tell me, looking at the lines, which line will have a slope of minus 1.4? A or B?
A.
A.
Sure?
Must.
Okay. So that means A has a more negative slope. That's what you're trying to say. Right? So A has a more negative slope than B. Yes, correct. That means minus 1.4 must be the slope for A and minus 1.33 must be the slope for B. So I can say that A is for carbon monoxide and B is for methane. So this is the final answer. Yes, all of you have understood that it is A. Very good. This is another interesting question. I'll give you some time now because we have done all these things. Just try solving. I mean, just start with this question. I'll show you the solution later. This is the solution. Or I can do one thing, I can show you the starting step. This is the starting step. Now start. I'm giving you 5 minutes. In your notebook, you can copy this question and you can start solving this. The other things you can copy later after the lecture when I send you everything, you can copy those things in your notes. This is the starting step.
Very minute. Answer.
This is the starting step. Now, in your final answer, you may have V1, V2, alpha, gamma. Only these things are allowed in the final answer. Why? Because alpha is given in the question. Whatever is given in the question can definitely be present in the last expression. Gamma is not given, but gamma is a constant for one type of gas. So even that is allowed. V1 and V2 are mentioned already in the question. V1 and V2. So even those can be there. So these things can be there, but other parameters are not allowed, like T1 and T2. Temperatures cannot be kept as T1 and T2 because They are not given as T1 and T2 in the question. So you cannot keep T1 and T2 in your final expression. So only these 4 things are allowed in your final answer. So answer should be in terms of these parameters. Start. What is the final answer?
सर ऐसा है क्या अल्फा रूट v2 माइनस अल्फा रूट v1?
हाँ उसके बाद ये पूरा नहीं, आधा ही है, मतलब थोड़ा सा मिस किया है तुमने कुछ।
ओके श्योर, एक मिनट।
Yes, anybody else with the answer?
सर एक बार क्वेश्चन दिखाइए ना।
Sir, alpha into 1 plus gamma ln V2 minus V1.
No.
Sir, 2 alpha by 3 into root V1 cube minus
नहीं.
root V2 cube minus root V1 cube.
No. Okay. See, remember I told you in the previous lecture, Cp upon Cv is equal to gamma. Also I told you Cp minus Cv is equal to R. दोनों को साइमल्टेनियसली सॉल्व करोगे तो ये आ जाएगा, Cv is equal to R by gamma minus 1. कैसे होगा? Dividing both sides by Cv, this becomes gamma minus 1 because Cp by Cv is gamma and minus Cv by Cv is 1. So this entire thing can be written as Cp by Cv minus 1. That is gamma minus 1. This is gamma. Cv इधर आएगा, ये इधर जाएगा, तो आ जाएगा Cv is equal to R by gamma minus 1. So instead of putting Cv, I put R by gamma minus 1. क्योंकि मैंने आपको बोला था फाइनल आंसर गामा में होना चाहिए. अब करो.
Sir, 2 alpha into 1 plus gamma times root V1 minus root V2.
नहीं, वो गामा वाले में गलत है. क्या बोला गामा वाले में तुमने?
Sir, 2 alpha into gamma minus 1.
हाँ, gamma minus 1. Yes.
हाँ sir,
Yes.
1 minus gamma बोला पहले.
Correct. Then आगे.
gamma minus 1 into root v1 minus root v2.
नहीं, root v2 minus root v1 आएगा.
हाँ, minus of integral. हाँ, v2 minus v1.
Okay, others try for 2 more minutes. They are showing the solution. According to ideal gas equation, PV is equal to nRT. So instead of writing this T, I can write PV by nR. Any doubt यहाँ तक क्लियर है सबको? Now, very, very important statement. The question has asked to work done by the gas. So we have to take a modulus. Had they asked us just what is work done, then we would have left here only. फिर आगे नहीं जाना पड़ता. We would have stopped here. Clear? Any doubt? So this is the final answer. That is modulus of W. Because they have asked us calculate the work done by the gas. Whenever they use the word by the gas, ultimately we'll have to take a modulus. Okay, next question. start solving this. Refer to your notes of previous lecture and then start.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, answer minus 5623 here. Choose.
No. No. Answers are not correct. Okay. How do we start? No.
Sir, adiabatic process is the delta U equal to 1.
Okay. It's an adiabatic process. So delta U will be equal to work. That is one. Also, we need to know what all things are given to us in the question. So I can say that. What can I say? That P1 process is adiabatic. Alright. Therefore, delta U is equal to W. That much is clear to everybody. Which will be equal to NCV dt. Delta T. Okay. T1 is given as 300 Kelvin in the question. How do I know that? The gas is expanded from. This word is important. From के बाद जो होता है वो initial के लिए होता है. So from 10 atm and 300 Kelvin. That means this is the data. Correct? These are the things that are given to us. What else is given to us?
The final also.
What else is given to us in the question?
Final.
Sir,
P2.
P2. How do you know that it is P2?
सर इक्विलिब्रियम पे तभी आएगा जब
सर
जब
एक्सटर्नल
one
प्रेशर है
pressure
तो
बराबर।
फाइनली 1 atm हो जाएगा दोनों का प्रेशर.
Correct. So can I say this is an irreversible process? Can I say that it is an irreversible process? Yes, I can see. How? Because this word is mentioned. This word. Whenever the external pressure is given to you, that means it is irreversible expansion. I told you about this in the first lecture of thermodynamics. Whenever expansion or compression is taking place with respect to external pressure or constant pressure, instead of external, the word constant could also be used against a constant pressure. That also means that it is irreversible process. So this is an irreversible expansion. So I can say that N CV T2 minus T1. Because it's irreversible, the work done can be written as minus P external into V2 minus V1. This will be the value of the work done because it is irreversible expansion. एक्सटर्नल क्यों क्या डाला है, इरिवर्सिबल है इसलिए. So N, right, Cv. Now gas is polyatomic. For polyatomic gas, Cv is 3R. We have done today only. T2 is unknown. T1 is given. External pressure is this. This will be Nr T2 by T2. P2 will be this minus Nr T1 will be 300, right? And P1 is 10 atm given to you in the question. Correct? On solving this, N and R will go. So 3T2 minus 900 will be equal to minus T2 minus 300 by 10. So from here, if I solve, T2 will be equal to right. Now calculate the value of work done. R is 8 point, sorry, CV is 3R. So 3 into 8.314. This will be the value of work in joules. Or I can say minus 1.683 kilojoules.
सर आप थोड़ा ऊपर स्क्रॉल कर सकते हैं प्लीज.
Yes. ये सीधा कट गया ना यहाँ पे, ये 101325 कट गया दोनों तरफ से, तो ये बचा रहा.
हो गया सर, थैंक यू.
Clear? Is the question clear? All right. Next question. Next question. Next question is, Start.
तो मोल्स नहीं दिए.
Okay. One more. Yeah.
Okay. सर आपको चैट बॉक्स में भेज रहा हूँ.
What?
सर आपको चैट बॉक्स में आंसर भेज दिया.
Okay. No. Wrong.
सर एक सेकंड थोड़ा देखो.
सबको कैसे सेम आंसर आ रहा है? 177.
सर ऊपर का पार्ट दिखा सकते हैं?
Answer is minus 123 degrees Celsius. Pratiksha and Arnav both gave minus 123 degrees Celsius. Okay.
हाँ सर आ रहा है वो माइनस का बढ़ गया
सर
था.
123 आ गया.
Minus 123 degrees Celsius or 150 Kelvin.
यस सर.
यस सर.
So I'll start solving now. Given that gas is doing the work, since gas is doing work, W is equal to So we say that W is equal to minus 3 kilojoule. Right. And the process is adiabatic. First of all, T1 is given as 27 degrees Celsius, that is 300 Kelvin. Never work with degrees Celsius. Always you need to work in Kelvin. This is the final answer. Any doubt in any of the questions that we did today? So now you must have got a hang of the formulae. So everything is formula dependent in this chapter.